There you go.
We can do a test.
Mic check, 1, 2. 1, 2. Hi David, thanks for inviting me. So my name is Nick Patel. I'm the founder of Bank of Bullion. Bank of Bullion is a business that we incorporated in 2016. We are one of the major suppliers of physical gold, not only in the markets of Dubai, the Gold Souk of Dubai, but we export to the likes of Singapore, Hong Kong, Turkey, and a few other countries. Post that, in 21, we launched a new division, what we say is effectively digitizing mankind's oldest asset. We launched Clinq Gold in 2021. In our first years of operations, off-chain, actually we did around 300 million US in sales. So, that was kind of giving us a proof of concept and making sure that we had a viable business. And fortunately, we turned a profit in that first year as well. Since then, we've changed a lot of things, recruited a lot of new staff. One of the key things that we changed was removed ourselves off the Ethereum chain and moved on to Binance. We hired Roman Semko, who's our CTO, comes with a vast experience in the crypto and financial sector. And then we rebuilt the whole team. And we've just started the process of getting the company listed. A couple of months back, we were listed on Bitmart. We had a very successful listing, a load of, I think, 14,000 active wallets, thousands and thousands of transactions. So yeah, it's been a great journey. We're here, obviously, in Kenya at the moment. My view and my vision for Kenya is very simple. I'm just checking the lay of the ground and see what potential there is, but I see a lot of potential here. The gold business is actually always going to be probably in demand, unless that meteor that Elon is looking for comes to Earth and it's got, I think, $10 trillion or a quadrillion dollars worth, or 100 quadrillion, I can't remember the number, but it'll kill the world economics anyway. In terms of gold, most people don't know this. According to the World Gold Council, there is probably around 200,000 tons, or maybe a little bit higher, of total gold in the world. That's, of that 200,000 or so, 150,000 tons has been mined to date since the start of mankind and is still in circulation. So let me help you put that in a metric. 2 Olympic swimming pools, or as I like to ideally try to give that visualization, it's 2 A380 Airbuses, but 1.5 full of gold. So that's kind of like the metric weight. And if you want to put that into a financial metric, you're talking around $12 trillion. So, I remember that, the gold mafia from Al Jazeera, right? So, in any business, you're going to have good and bad players, whether it's the banking system, whether it's the financial system, whether they're accountants. There's been times when, global top 3 accountants have been fined. There's been times when HSBC or these big banks have been fined. And in the same way, the business of precious metals, certainly gold will invite those specific bad players, if you want to call it that as well. In this specific circumstance, it was those connected to high-level members of the government. But ultimately, the problem started from right at source, right? So it was a government-based system that was allowing real invoices to be issued with real gold, with real audit trails. It's just the fact that it was a little bit grey in how they went about their business. But I can't comment whether the process was legal or illegal of the transfer of the metal. The question in this specific documentary was the fact that they were taking money, or it was $100 million from Chinese or some whoever they were purporting to be, of money launderers, right? That was the problem. So the transfer of the metal and all that part, I'm not sure about that, whether that actually falls into any other part. People are just seeing it now as it's fault of gold, but no, it was the fault of the fact that the money was black money that was being laundered. So let's look at the problem. Gold was the mechanism, but the problem was somebody decided to take that 100 million of black money. That is where the problem started. So I don't know intrinsically, whether the players in that, because they were slightly lower level players, but whether it was just pure greed to accept the money, obviously in the interest of making huge commissions on the transaction or whatever it was. But I don't know enough to have a opinion on if the government itself had to be blamed for that. There is huge deficiencies. And let's just talk about the underlying asset. Your underlying asset is the US dollar. The US dollar is in trouble. Let's not mince my words, and I'm certainly not going to mince them. I'm going to be very direct about this. The US dollar, I don't think, is going to be around much longer. The word de-dollarization has been knocking around for some time, and it's an absolute fact. The problem is, since 1971, before the gold standard was disbanded, what was known as the Bretton Woods system, Nixon obviously took the US dollar off its gold peg. What was initially meant to be 6 months, it's now 52 years and still counting. So the US government and the Fed have been able to basically issue US dollars without any physical backing whatsoever. Now, if you consider the actual mechanism of an operation like that, you're actually just printing money and you're creating liquidity throughout the world based on nothing. They're solving their own problems by issuing more cash. So, if I gave you, carte blanche in printing whatever currency you want, and you had the ability to literally issue whatever you wanted and raise money through treasuries or bonds or whatever, does that make you stable? No. If you go back into the fact that you mentioned USDT, all of their money is backed in US dollar, I think 80 billion in circulation, yeah? If the US dollar is changed of its status as reserve currency of the world, what does that do to USDT? It's finished. USDC, I find, is a little bit better in terms of stability. Why? Because they're very open and transparent with their holdings. But ultimately, anything you're backing with a US dollar, you're in trouble. It's as simple as that. You certainly can't convince me that holding your asset in the US dollar is safe. It doesn't make any sense. And most of these companies are buying US treasuries. So the whole proviso of USDT, for example, they'll make a 5% profit by 2050, according to some literature I read. But that's based on the maturity of the US treasuries. But if the US treasury is worthless, the actual the bonds and the treasuries you're buying are worthless because the currency is gone. What use is that? And everything you've bought is based in that. So the proviso or the provision to make money is very simple. They use the funds of the clients and they buy US government debt, US government treasuries. Now, the point is, if the treasury in itself or the debt you're buying is worthless and the percentages you're making are potential profits in the future, it doesn't make any sense. Like I said to you, the US dollar has a problem. The US will never admit it. You can't have a currency which is backed by absolutely zero. You have a country that is printing relentlessly. There is no way in any other country in the history of sort of the world's population as a country printed so much cash in such little time. It's a problem. It's worthless. So no, there's a lot of other stable coins out there that are backed by gold. Rather than comment about them, I'll give you exactly how we operate. So, prior to Clinq Gold being incorporated a couple of years back, we're actually in the business of selling physical metal. So the economies of scale for us is much better than probably 99.99% of other operators in the similar field. Why? Because we actually get gold at a better price than spot. We're not buying from LBMA in London like Paxos does, probably the most expensive gold center in the world. We're not pegging our trades like I think Gold Pesa, I think they buy their gold through Paxos or bridge their trades. We actually get the physical metal delivered to us in our offices. We sell around 150 kgs daily, which is around $7 to $10 million. And as you can imagine, if we're trading at that volume, and we're buying at source, we don't obviously pay spot price. So it's around to give you around 1.5%. There isn't that much margin, but it's plenty when you're trading at volume. Ultimately, if you buy 1 CGT, it's 1 gram. That 1 gram is translated to physical metal stored in DMCC, which is the Dubai Multi-Commodity Center vault. The vault is owned and held by Brinks. Brinks is the oldest security company in the world. I think in 164-year history, 70,000 people plus work for the company. So Bank of Bullion, which is our other gold purchasing division, they are responsible for the procurement on behalf of Clinq Gold, and then transfer that physical metal Brinks actually transfers the physical metal. And at the time of purchase, the invoice is raised. Another invoice is created by Brinks for the deposit and delivery. And our audits will have a clear trail of the whole transfer process for that. So we get a discount on the physical metal. So you'll be paying 1 gram on the spot price, for example, Bitmart, where we're already listed. The price will be $66. Yeah. So effectively, our buying price is probably 1.5% or more less than what you're paying. And then there's a fractional charge on buying and selling of the token. So depending on the size of your transaction, that'll range from 0.015, which is a very small fraction. So 1 gram equals 1 CGT token. At the end of the day, if it's listed on the exchange at $65 per gram, which is the international spot price, we've not paid $65. We've probably paid around 1.5, maybe even 2% less, because we're buying the gold at source, refining it. So that's how we've already made money. Our second revenue stream is the incremental charges of going in and out the token. So depending on the volume and the size of the trade, it ranges from 0.015% to 1%. So there's two avenues of making money. The business in itself, the core underlying principle is we're at the economies of scale that we buy, we're getting a discount on the gold anyway. So the rest of it is just charges from the exchange or fees going in and out. So the tokenomics simple. You know, one of the things I tell a lot of people, and I want people to understand one thing. If you're running a stable coin, keep it stable. You don't need to complicate it by creating these elaborate algorithms. I don't believe in creating something that is complicated. You know, you need a stable coin. Okay, how do you make it 100% guaranteed? Well, if $1 million comes in on CGT purchases, I have to back it by $1 million worth of gold. Remember, that $1 million worth of gold didn't cost me $1 million, it cost me around 1.5–2% less. So as a business, we've already made money. Then there are incremental charges of, you know, gas fees and whatever else that goes in, out. And depending on the protocol, like for instance, Binance, we also get kickbacks from there because we are producing so much volume on these chains that the gas fees are actually known as rebates. So the gas fees are known as rebates. So we actually make an income stream from that. And like I mentioned earlier, there are fees going in and out. But you know, a lot of companies charge extortionate fees. Ours are relatively low at 0.015 and slightly higher. Right now, we're only working on Bitmart. One of the things that I realize a lot of companies do very, in my opinion, wrongly to begin with, they chase every single exchange with a view that, okay, if I get into 5 exchanges, it will increase my volume. It doesn't necessarily always work like that. In my opinion, you should get to 1 exchange, which is decent. Bitmart, it's probably in the top 20. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but it's there, okay? They have a significant database of 4 million people. The idea is to generate enough volume, generate profitability, and use those profits to then move to other exchanges. And on that point, I just want to make another point. You know, Paxos, I remember they raised $500 million, $540 million in 7 fundraisings. Clinq Gold, we haven't raised a penny. We've operated ourselves profitably since we've been incorporated. We may at some point look for a VC for me, it's not about the investment, it's more about what they can bring to the table in terms of their contacts, in terms of what they can do to perhaps help us in any other way. And even, let's assume they invested $25 million. Ultimately, that money will be just pre-minted gold. So all that money will go in physical gold, sit in the Brinks vault, ready to mint tokens. You know, on a day-to-day basis, we're already able to power ourselves with our own profits. So Zambia was a very exciting country, and you know, with a population of 10 million, one of their core principles, or one of the ways they transfer money is mobile money, right? Better known as USSD payments. So what we've done on the front layer of Clinq, we've now introduced Clinq Gold Pay. Effectively, it's a mobile money payment service, much like you use here in Kenya, M-Pesa, except every transaction is 100% gold-backed and all based on blockchain. So what does that do that perhaps has more advantages than any other mobile money operator? The fact that it's built on blockchain doesn't limit the payments to just nationalized payments, right? So, for example, right now you have a Kenyan number, I have a Dubai number. All you have to do is add me as a payment on your system, or same way you would send money to your friend within Kenya. And typically, within 10 to 30 seconds, you've made an international payment using a gold-backed token to anywhere in the world. So, you're making transactions faster. They're actually cheaper than the current competition. And the most important part is you're now increasing not just efficiency for the government, but you're increasing their revenue stream, because now you can give them direct access via the blockchain to all your transactions so they can tax efficiently at source. Apart from that, in terms of just helping the local economy of Kenya or Zambia, you're increasing the GDP by increasing your ability to make international payments in seconds and at a fraction of your existing cost. So you should be able to expand on exports, imports, other trade goods and services, and now you can do it faster, cheaper, in a more secure fashion. So the reason, first and foremost, one of the reasons we launched Clinq Gold Pay is to make payment systems in Africa more accessible, more inclusive, more efficient, more secure and cheaper. And it's very simple. A lot of people, they try to drive volume through their exchanges or various exchanges, using social media to create more users within their ecosystem. So let me just give you the way in which we are driving volume. So, for example, Clinq Gold Pay is a mobile money payment system. That's the e-money license we're currently seeking in Zambia. Probably, if it all works out, we'll do similar in Kenya. But the idea is simple. So mobile money payment, every time a transaction is done, there's a small fee that is charged, whether it's 0.25% or 0.5% or whatever. It's a small increment of whatever that transactional fee is. But ultimately, because now imagine that payment, so whether it's 100 shillings, 1,000 shillings, or a million shillings, that transaction is actually on chain. So it goes into the Binance protocol. Now that transaction, while it's on chain, also prompts us in the back to buy physical metal to cover that transaction. So let's assume the total volume of transactions or fresh input of funds is 10 million shillings. So automatically all that 10 million shilling will go on the Binance protocol on chain. It'll then drive us to buy 10 million shilling equivalent of physical metal, which, as I mentioned earlier, we make around 1.5%, maybe even 2% profit. So that whole transaction, incidentally, actually funds the ecosystem as well, and it drives profitability, not just for Clinq Gold Pay, but because of the blockchain and because of the gold buying process in the background, it actually creates more revenue streams for Clinq Gold. First of all, I'd invite them to check us out on our website, www.clinq.gold. If you do want to buy the token, you can come directly through the site. But if you want to trade with other pairs of cryptos, like we are paired with, for example, BTC, Bitcoin, we're also paired with USDT, because that's right now the only global operator that is available. And as I say many times, if you're holding a USDT token, it's probably better that you're holding something that is tangible, that has a real backing with no intrinsic risk, and physical gold is probably better. Thank you, David. It was a pleasure.